Good morning. Terror tribute, an audio tape reportedly from Osama bin Laden calls slain terror leader Abu Musab al-Zarqawi a knight and a prince as the al-Qaeda chief vows more attacks. NBC News exclusive, the parents of one of the Duke lacrosse players charged with rape speak out for the very first time.
That, I have faith in the justice system and faith that the truth will prevail and we will all move forward when this nightmare ends.
And star-crossed, the war of words between former View co-host Star Jones Reynolds and Barbara Walters.
This is a surprise.
The show's moving in another direction for its 10th season, and I will not be returning as co-host next year.
We hope then that she would announce it here in the program and leave with dignity. But Star made another choice.
And the woman at the center of it all, Star Jones Reynolds, is here to talk to us today, Friday, June 30th, 2006.
From NBC News, this is Today with Matt Lauer and Campbell Brown, live from Rockefeller Plaza.
And welcome to Today on this Friday morning, everybody. I'm Campbell Brown.
And I'm David Gregory, in once again for Matt this morning. And Americans are again waking up to a chilling message once again from Osama bin Laden.
That's right. The tape's authenticity hasn't been confirmed, but U.S. intelligence officials believe it is the terror leader. It is the fourth message from bin Laden this year. But once again, you only hear his voice. So why has bin Laden become so camera shy? We're going to have much more on that just ahead. And then the Supreme Court deals a major body blow to the Bush administration, ruling its plans to try Guantanamo Bay terror suspects before military tribunals are against the law. Will this hurt the U.S. war on terror? We're going to talk about that this morning with Senator John McCain.
Then, Campbell, when you wish upon a star, you might just get burned. At least that is what Barbara Walters is now saying. Walters claims Star took the show hostage on Tuesday when she made that surprise announcement that she was leaving The View, saying basically she'd been pushed out. Well, the next day, Walters shot back, suggesting that Star's goodbye was undignified and that Star was officially gone. So, what does Star have to say now, and what is next for her? As we mentioned, she will be here live for an interview in our 7:30 half hour. You're certainly not going to want to miss that.
My guess is she's got a lot she wants to get off her chest.
I think so.
Plus, we've got some important advice for parents about kids and sports, and we got a little bit of country right here in the big city. A live concert this morning from Rascal Flatts.
Very excited crowd, and they have a great sound, so we're going to look forward to that. But first to the news. We begin this morning with that new audio tape from Osama bin Laden released overnight. NBC's senior investigative correspondent Lisa Myers has the very latest. Lisa, good morning to you.
Good morning, David. Bin Laden eulogized Zarqawi, endorsed Zarqawi's slaughter of Iraqi civilians, and vowed that al-Qaeda will continue to fight American forces, quote, until we bleed your money and kill your men and you return to your country in defeat. In the 19-minute audio tape believed by U.S. intelligence to be authentic, bin Laden called Zarqawi attempt by al-Qaeda Central to appear in charge of the global jihadist movement, even though the terror group has not pulled off an attack in 3 years, David.
Lisa, as you know, the last time we saw bin Laden on tape was the run-up to the 2004 election, October 04. This is another audio message. What do U.S. officials make of the fact that we're not seeing him?
Well, U.S. counterterror officials believe it's because a videotape entails more risk than an audio tape. It requires more people to record it. There is a greater chance of somehow giving away clues to where bin Laden is or to the fact that he may have changed his appearance in some manner.
All right, Lisa Myers in Washington this morning. Thanks very much. 7:05. Once again, here's Campbell.
David, thanks. The war against al-Qaeda has been a top priority for President Bush ever since 9/11, but he suffered a major blow on Thursday. The Supreme Court ruled the Bush administration's plan to try Guantanamo Bay terror suspects in military tribunals went too far. We get more now from NBC's justice correspondent Pete Williams.
Barely a month after the 9/11 attacks, with the U.S. military fighting the Taliban in Afghanistan, President Bush ordered the creation of new...
This morning.
Thanks, Campbell.
And very interesting because there's only 10 out of the 450 detainees at Guantanamo who have been subject to any kind of proceeding whatsoever. So this really may move this process forward.
Yep.
Interesting. We're going to go over to Natalie Morales this morning for the rest of the day's top stories. Natalie, good morning to you.
And good morning, David and Campbell. Good morning, everyone. Thousands of people are still out of their homes along the Northeast after another round of storms Thursday. Flood damage from days of rain is estimated in the tens of millions of dollars. NBC's Lisa Daniels is along the Delaware River in Yardley, Pennsylvania. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning, Natalie. This area was hit by ½ inch of rain overnight, but it did not raise the level of the river. Now the big question, what to do with all this standing water?
Rain was the last thing the Northeast needed, not with 40,000 square miles already soaked to the bone. Residents from Virginia to upstate New York spent Thursday assessing damage, a hard job when it's covered with so much water. The biggest concern, the Delaware River. Residents anxiously waited for it to crest.
But I don't know what to do, because if we take out the water, it's just going to come back in, so we're just waiting for it to go down.
In Yardley, Pennsylvania, it crested at 25 feet, but not before leaving its mark. Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania dodged a bullet. The levees, built after devastating flooding from Hurricane Agnes almost 35 years ago, held. And by mid-afternoon, mandatory evacuations were lifted. But Binghamton, New York got slammed. The estimated damage believed to be in the millions. And shop owners in tourist towns like New Hope, Pennsylvania got a double whammy. Flooded basements and no tourists, a devastating blow on a 4-day holiday weekend.
Most of the businesses lost quite a bit of business.
Depressing news when you're standing above this much water.
The good news is there's no rain in the forecast until Sunday. Natalie?
Yeah, certainly can use some drying out. Lisa Daniels in Yardley, Pennsylvania. Thank you. Well, bad weather is also a concern for NASA officials as they prepare for Saturday's scheduled launch of the shuttle Discovery. But there is also serious concern this morning that the launch may be too risky. NBC's Tom Costello is at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Tom, good morning.
Natalie, good morning to you. The weather officer here says there's about a 60% chance that weather will interfere with the launch tomorrow. And there's also concern that foam like this could fall off the external fuel tank and once again inflict serious damage on Discovery. Still, NASA says all systems are go.
The crew is at the Cape, Discovery is on the pad, and the clock is ticking, even though NASA's chief engineer and the chief of safety have both voted not to launch. But the man in charge says for the sake of the program, it's worth the risk.
I'm willing, as administrator, looking at the whole picture, I'm willing to take a little bit of programmatic risk now, and you'll notice I did not say crew risk.
This is what terrifies the safety engineers, a piece of foam falling off the external fuel tank and punching a hole in the shuttle. That's what brought down Columbia in 2003, killing all 7 crew members on re-entry. It happened again last summer, but the foam missed the shuttle. Engineers have since removed 35 pounds of foam, but they still expect small pieces to fall off the fuel tank on liftoff. Still, the crew insists they're ready.
As astronauts, we all know that spaceflight is risky. There's risk inherent in driving to work or walking across the street, and so there's risk incurred every day.
Once again, the crew will inspect the shuttle for damage once they're in space. Commander Steve Lindsay is convinced the shuttle has never been safer.
That doesn't mean it's safe like a commercial airliner. They're very different animals, and they will be for the next 50, 100 years probably.
But critics say after losing 2 shuttles and 14 crew members already, launching now makes little sense.
I think the burden is on NASA at this point to demonstrate that they understand the shuttle well enough to fly it, and their track record over the last several years isn't terribly impressive.
This is Mission Control Houston with the
NASA is anxious to retire the shuttle just as soon as the space station is finished, but that will take another 16 missions.
Back out live here at the Kennedy Space Center, Discovery on a beautiful Friday morning, sitting on the pad preparing for launch, scheduled for 3:49 tomorrow afternoon. By the way, if there is a problem on liftoff, the crew would have to abandon ship and go to the International Space Station and await rescue. They said yesterday that the crew could wait there for 81 days until Atlantis were to lift off and rescue the crew. Natalie, back to you.
All right, thanks so much, Tom Costello at the Kennedy Space Center. Florida officials are investigating the cause of a 12-year-old's death after riding a roller coaster at Disney's MGM Park on Thursday. The boy's father gave him CPR after the rock and roller coaster ride ended. He's the 9th person to die at Disney in 3 years. Disney said the ride appears to have worked properly. The U.S. military says a Marine was killed today in fighting west of Baghdad, and 3 terror suspects were killed today in a gun battle with U.S. and Iraqi forces. The Israeli military continued its assault on Gaza this morning, striking dozens of targets, including the Interior Ministry. Hamas militants have been holding an Israeli soldier hostage since Sunday. President Bush and Japanese Prime Minister Koizumi head to Graceland this morning for a tour of the King's estate. The Japanese leader is apparently a huge Elvis fan. And the Tour de France gets underway Saturday, but without one of its champion cyclists. Germany's Jan Ullrich was one of several cyclists suspended this morning amid a doping investigation in Spain. Ullrich was a favorite to win the Tour in light of Lance Armstrong's retirement. And an unusual visitor from one California family, a tufted ear marmoset, one of the world's smallest primates, was hanging out in its backyard. The marmoset is native to Central and South America, so details are a little fuzzy on how it got there. It's now 17 minutes past the hour. Back over to David Campbell and Al. It is going to be taken to a facility that specializes in primates of its kind.
That look kind of cute and fuzzy.
Yeah, very cute and fuzzy.
Something to kind of jump onto the chair with you and watch a little TV.
Thank you, Natalie. Sure. Okay, or not.
Mr. Roker, that storm is finally
it's gone?
Yes, it is.
A break,
It is finally out. There may be northern New England seeing some showers today, but otherwise the East Coast finally gets a much-needed dry out. Take a look. We've got some showers now working their way into the plains, part of a cold front that's going to be dipping down out of Canada, but for the most part, much of the U.S. looking pretty good. We do have severe storms, though, in the plains today. Sunshine, warm, 82 in Seattle. We're looking for some clouds and rain in northern New England, and expect some showers along the Texas-Mexico border today. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
From Hartford, where all is quiet and dry and cooler this morning.
That's your latest weather, David.
Al, thanks. You might want to stop by the local ATM before you hit the road with your family for the holiday weekend. As NBC's Don Teague is learning the hard way, gas prices are on the rise again. And coming up in our next half hour, the story everybody's talking about, Star Jones Reynolds live on her nasty divorce from Barbara Walters and the rest of the crew from The View. But first, this is Today on NBC.
That the show's moving in another direction for its 10th season, and I will...
The Drive.
And still ahead of Today, exclusive, the parents of one of the Duke lacrosse players accused of rape speak out for the first time.
And coming story, Rascal Flatts live on the Plaza.
7:30 on a Friday morning, the start of a nice long holiday weekend for a lot of people, and those folks are listening to the hottest country. Yeah, this is really good stuff. What is this that we're listening to exactly? I don't know. Anyway, we're going to be here from, there we go. This is the hot song from Rascal Flatts. It's actually called Backwards, and it's a fun look at what you get when you play a country record backwards. You know, your wife back, your dog back, the whole deal. Anyway.
There you go. There's the crowd.
There we go. We're going to be full speed ahead in our 8:30 half hour when those guys take to our stage for our Friday concert. It's a mix of country and Disney. Anyway, back inside our summer studio, I'm David Gregory along with Campbell Brown. We've had a great time this week. It's been so fun to be up here with you. Really, the high point for me was when you called me honey yesterday, which I don't know if a lot of people caught, but it was kind of a breakthrough for us.
Because you were driving the car out of control,
said, honey,
and all my reaction was, stop, honey,
anyway,
stop.
We should point out that Matt and Ann will be back next week.
I'm sure viewers will be thrilled to hear that news. Anyway, coming up in just a moment, hot topics turned into hot tempers on the talk show The View this week when Star Jones Reynolds made the dramatic announcement she was leaving and not by her own choice. It shocked her co-host, and the next day, the show's founder, Barbara Walters, lashed out. In just a moment, we're going to talk to Star Jones Reynolds live about her departure from The View, what really happened behind the scenes, and where she goes from here. And then later, we're going to meet three sisters, identical triplets, who all decided to get facelifts all at the same time. They're going to be here as well.
But Campbell, we begin with the Duke rape case. Colin Finnery was at the top of his world, a student at the prestigious University of Duke and a member of the nationally ranked lacrosse team. But today, he's in the fight of his life, charged along with two others with sexual sexually assaulting an exotic dancer. Now his parents are speaking out for the very first time. NBC's chief legal correspondent and, by the way, MSNBC general manager Dan Abrams caught up with them for an exclusive interview. Dan is here this morning. Dan, good morning.
Well, good morning, David. I got to sit down with Mary Ellen and Kevin Finnerty at their home. Now that 1,800 pages of documents have been turned over from the prosecution to the defense, they say they're now more convinced than ever that no rape occurred in that house. I asked them how they first found out that Colin could be in trouble.
2 days before Easter, we got a phone call from our lawyer saying that for some unknown reason, he had found out that Colin was on a short list. He didn't know how short the list was, and so we were
in D.C. on a separate assault case on July 10th. His parents did not want to discuss that case on the advice of their attorney. David?
All right, Dan, much more to come on that story. Thanks very much. Switching gears now, we're going to get another check of the weather from Al.
Today's weather is brought to you by Kellogg's Smart Start, healthy heart cereal.
And good morning, all. Beautiful morning here in New York. And got some friends here from the East Alabama Medical Center. Are you guys nurses? All right, well, thanks for the job you guys do. That's great. Well, let's check your weather, see what's happening, and we'll show you for Saturday. Severe storms around the Great Lakes, also in the northern Rockies. Sunshine in the northwest, hazy, hot, and humid through the south. Same thing on Sunday with some severe storms moving into the northeast, staying in the plains, hot in the southwest, and hazy, hot, and humid through the Gulf Coast. That's what's going on around the country. Here's what's happening in your neck of the woods.
All right.
Campbell?
Al, thanks very much. Up next, Star Jones Reynolds live right here on her bitter departure from The View. That's coming up right after this.
Comic Standing, NBC Tuesday at 9, 8 Central.
What do you get when Mother Nature and civilization collide? In Southern California, it's some unwelcome neighbors and residents are walking. And up next, as promised, Star Jones Reynolds live right after this.
You'd have to say it would be an understatement to say it's been a long and interesting week for Star Jones Reynolds.
We've heard rumors, we have
First, from NBC News.